What's going on, people? It is Irish Gunner HD here, you can call me Irish, and today I thought I would do another behind the beat video. I made one of these a good long while ago now with my buddy Gordo, when we made the track No Drogs Lament, and I showed you the kind of the behind the scenes, everything that went into making the track by track, what the different sounds were and stuff, and I just thought I'd do it again. I thought it might be interesting. So this one is going to be on that track that I uploaded recently called Sacs, which, interesting side note, I thought. See up here, Sacs.flp. This is the first song I think I've ever done that actually kept its working title. Usually when I'm working on songs, like if you look here, if I look at my kind of projects that still have to be done, like you can just see there's just like Thomas Banger, Black Sails, More Dope Beats, like R3, M3, like CH, like they're just all named just ridiculously. Take Tushin, Too School for Cool Loop. Like I've just got the dumbest naming process for naming tracks that I'm working on. But basically what I thought I'd do, as I said, was just kind of work through it. So without further ado, we shall get into it. If you haven't heard the track yet, I will leave the link to the description to check it out. But first of all, just here it is. If I just turn down this, call it to 50, just so it's not terribly loud. Yeah, so that's the core loop basically. That's the, call it what, 16 bars of the chorus essentially. And basically, yeah. So what I thought I would do is just kind of go through it track by track and just get into it. So it started off with actually this sample here. I should probably start with. So pretty straightforward, just that sax loop, hence the title of the song, Sax, which is on track 2. If I remove the effects, if you go into the track and find the sample, it's actually three samples. Sorry, it's this sample here. It is this one here. And it is this one here. So I found those three tracks, or those three samples in a random, I can't remember why I was even in the folder that I was in, but I just found them like hidden away basically in a random folder. And I just, as you hear it play out, I just heard that melody in my head. I just heard diddle-din, diddle-din, diddle-din. Yeah, so that was the basic loop that I came up with. And again, a lot of the stuff that you'll see here is just me using a couple of very simple effects. A VPS filter for the EQ, a reverb for obviously the echo effect, and the much like what I just did there, the delay, which adds on the So if you listen to it with the effects. Yeah, so that's that. So that was just the original idea. For whatever reason, that stumbled into my head. And then next up was just a very simple bass. Yeah, so that's that. Like, you obviously combine the two of them, you get like. You get the picture. Where a lot of the actual work went into then was the kind of the back sounds. One of my problems with the song that I'm not terribly thrilled about was in the mix, I used a lot of sounds that were in the same frequency. So you have this, like a couple of these, any of these three here. Now these were specifically what I wanted to show off because these are where the most work went into. So if I find pattern 1, that's REFX Nexus. Now I know like one of the things that I wanted to do with this track particularly, once I had the idea, was REFX Nexus is known as basically being a one sound synth kind of thing. Like you basically, there's no tweaking really, there's not really much you can do as far as synthesis goes. You just kind of get the sound that you're given and you work with it. But what I did to make it my own was, for this example in particular, I used the arpeggiator. And I used a heap of effects, which again I'll bring in over here. Sorry, I keep dragging in and out. I don't have a whole lot of screen real estate, but I'm trying to work with it. So if I take off all the effects, this main first sound Actually, you know what I should have done? I should have taken off all these effects here off the main channel first, so you can hear the actual raw sounds. Yeah, so that on its own is pretty good. It's a nice little chord progression. It's one that I like that I came up with. But yeah, once you apply all the effects here again, VPS filter, decimorph to crunch it up a little bit, some more reverb, some compression, and a flanger, you get... Yeah, so you get that effect. But then what I actually ended up doing with this particular version of the chord sequence was I stuck it on an arpeggiator, which is it just created just a little bit of noodling, and it created this fantastic little arpeggiated piece. Yeah, so I love that piece. That's a lovely little kind of, it works. Arpeggiators can have like very varying results. Like they can be they can be amazing, or they can just be completely weird and random. So I'm happy that that one panned out. Haha, making music. I'm so bad. But yeah, so the next one then basically was, as you can see here, they're basically the same chord progression, just played with different sounds. So this one is, I believe, a bassoon, I think? Yeah, bassoon solo, again from Nexus. Just following the same idea, just using different sounds. Now with this one, I didn't use the arpeggiator, I used the trance gate. So if I just disable the trance gate, I'll also disable the VPS filter. So very straightforward kind of bassoon-y sounding thing, but with the filter and the the trance gate, which is set in such a way that it's not like on off on off on off. It's not going better 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 better. It's just kind of making it oscillate a little bit. It's almost like a kind of almost a dubsteppy kind of oscillator thing that just gives it a little bit of a wobble, sort of, which I like a lot. The channel settings box keeps getting in the way of the clips that I'm trying to show you. Yeah, so that's that sound. And then finally we have this one. I believe this one was actually the first one that I created. So it's weird that it ended up so far down the line. But yeah, this is the first sound that actually spawned off. Once I had the sax sample and the bass line, this was the first sound that kind of spawned off the idea for the track. Yeah, so as you might notice, it's very similar to pattern 1 there. It's very similar to the original one, or to that first sound that I showed you. Basically, without all the effects, this is what it sounds like. So basically, essentially just a good like cello string quartet or whatever you want to call it piece. But again, with the effects, I'll just apply them as it goes. Yeah, so you can see there, that was just trying to grind, like, kind of, I don't know what the word for it is, but like, it's just a technique that I use a lot, which is kind of like mashing up the sounds and just kind of getting them a little bit grittier, rolling off a lot of the high end, making them very reverby and echoey. It's just a feeling it's just a sound that I've been feeling recently. So when you combine all those together, you get basically this. So that was that. Don't mind these vocals. These were just, I'll just throw them in for the sake of it now. There were just random vocals that I was working with to kind of get an idea for the flow of it. Oh, I turned them down, sorry.
The bottom to the top, I'm never gonna stop. When I'm in the spot, it's a must that I rock from the bottom to the top.
Yeah, obviously not terribly important. So these are just obviously sweeps, as you can see. So again, not terribly important, not terribly interesting. Next up we have this intro kind of like string piece thing that I worked in together. So this originally was Chromatic 5. Where is that now? If I drag it up again, I'm so used to having the mixer on the other screen. So if I just remove the out, yeah, so it's just basically a very long string sound. But what I did was I just took the intro. Alright, sorry. Just gonna mute the other part. So if I just took the intro part. And then I took the actual sample itself into a plugin called X-Fader Looper CM, which lets me actually play them on the keyboard. It's a really cool little plugin, free plugin as well. Actually, I got with an issue of Computer Music Magazine. Fantastic little plugin. But yeah, so when you combine the intro little actual sample with the played parts on the keyboard, you get. And just to remove the EQ or the effects. So that's another cool little part that got hidden a little bit by the overall process of it, of the mix and stuff. So next up we have a sample, which is a trumpet, which is kind of, it comes in the pre-chorus part of the verse, second half of the verse, whatever you want to call it. And that's just straight up, just a straight up great trumpet sample that I found that I just kind of time stretched to fit to the time of the track. And literally just has some EQ to filter out the bottom end. Yeah, so that's that. That's an again just a nice little sample. Then there's again, this is another piece that goes like hidden a little bit under the radar. It's a little piano kind of. You'll hear it. Again, to remove all the effects. Yeah, then with the effects back on. It's just this little kind of trill on the piano that just sounds great as like a tiny little background piece. Yeah, so then next up we have some kind of strings and some more string pieces. Then finally we have, this is the last musical element I believe, which is, it's the same idea as, sorry if I just drag this out of the way one more time. It's the same idea as the string part here that I showed you earlier. It's just with a vocal. So it's a vocal really pitched up high saying, you stay on my mind. So if I undo the pitch here, I believe it's on 700% apparently. Yeah, so if I just and just again. Yeah, so that's it basically with the pitch turned back to normal of the original sample and with the effects taken away. But obviously then you put them back in and you get. Now what was happening was I wanted a melody to go along with that. Like if I could have had the girl sing it, I would have done it obviously, but this is just a random sample. So what had happened to come out being like was this. And then the sample ends. So I basically did the exact same thing again, as I said, with these two channels here, with these two parts here. I just brought them into X-Fader Looper CM again and just did the exact same thing, except instead of playing chords like I did up here, I just put them, like, just created a little melody. So it starts off like mind. So this line here is the mind, and then it plays a little melody. And then again, nothing interesting, just a crash. So that it is really pretty simple. Like it's a pretty much very simple basic track. But finally, I thought I would do the drums because they're like they sound great in my opinion. and seems to be like a hidden gem almost. It's another thing that I discovered from Computer Music Magazine, as you can see here. It's a plugin called Beat Machine. And this timing is going to be shocking because my keyboard is like out of sync when I record videos. It's a whole technical thing to do with the FL Studio requiring the system audio. So when I disable it, basically the keyboard, it's a long story, but basically this is going to sound terrible. But here are the drums that I used. It's so bad. Hold on. Let me take out my headphones and just play. It might sound better. No, probably not much. Probably not better at all. But yeah, so this is what they ended up sound like. It's the drum is literally just a 4-bar loop, but just chopping in and out at certain stages. So I'll just play the drum loop as it is. Yeah, so even though it's all played live, it feels very much so like a sampled kind of like an actual sample track, or like a sample drum beat or whatever. So it's pretty cool. And I think that's it. I think that is literally it. It's just how I structured it in terms of the choruses and the verses and the intro and that kind of thing, the breakdown stuff. Um, Again, it's a little bit formulaic. It is not my best track by any means whatsoever. It's not my favorite track, but I like it a lot, and it's just pretty good. What added the final little bit of kind of grit to it then is as I disabled them earlier on, I'll re-enable them now. It's VPS filter for the kind of intro and outro sweep effects on the overall track, if that makes sense. Like it brings the EQ down, it kind of cuts off the high end. But then the Decimort plugin here, if you look at it, it's on, if you look at the top left there, it's on 5%/95%, like the dry wet. It's literally basically doing almost nothing. But on the other hand, it's doing everything. It's adding that little grit and grime and punch to everything, which I really like. So I play it. Yeah, that's what I'll do actually. I'll play it without it, and then I'll play it with it.
Bottom to the top, I'm never gonna stop.
Yeah, it's very subtle. It's very hard to notice. The most noticeable I personally find is in the intro. Like if I play this bass line just by itself and change the difference between the Decimort on and off. Now watch the difference here. It gets like so much buzzier and more like in your face kind of. Yeah, I think that's it. Like the actual synthesis I showed you, the samples. Obviously, I didn't go into every single sample, but I think that's about it. Again, it's really a fairly straightforward, simple track. Like it's again, it's not like the best one I've ever made, but it's definitely a nice little head bopping kind of decent beat, I think. So that's it. Just if you enjoyed it, please do leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new here. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.